continue with our keynote address, Internationalization 4.0. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Luciana Stalivieri from Universidad Federal Santa Catarina in Brazil. Her keynote address, Internationalization 4.0, Connecting Global Knowledge for Institutional Transformation. The internationalization of higher education is no longer just a vector of academic mobility and scientific cooperation. In a scenario marked by technological acceleration, artificial intelligence, and global knowledge networks, a new frontier emerges, Internationalization 4.0. This approach proposes a strategic integration between digital innovation, inclusion, sustainability, and social impact, redefining the role of higher education institutions in the contemporary world. This conference invites professors, managers, researchers, and students to reflect on how internationalization can be a catalyst for institutional quality, regional development, and global protagonism. Emerging practices such as digital internationalized curricula, transnational collaborative networks, global micro-credentials, and home-based internationalization strategies with a focus on equity and social relevance will be discussed. More than following trends, this conference seeks to inspire a new vision. How can we internalize with purpose, connecting diverse knowledge to transform our institutions into more innovative, inclusive, and globally connected spaces? Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stalivieri.
Bom dia a todos. Muy buenos días, muy bienvenidos. Welcome everyone. I'm very sorry, but professors cannot be stuck, flows the knowledge, so that's I'm going to be moving around. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much, IMET organizers, for bringing me here and having the opportunity to talk to you this morning. Special thanks to Yadira for the special care and compliments for this beautiful project. I know how many difficulties it is to coordinate, especially when you have babies coming together, right, Joanna? Especially when you have lots of things happening. But you have the most consistent things that you are showing right now. You have deliverables, you have lots of things that you are really giving to academic society, and you are helping the internationalizationalists to think about and to progress with our reflection. So congratulations, and I'm very glad Luis mentioned that you're going to have more things to come, more projects and more ideas and more results for us to learn from you. And a special hello to everyone, all my friends that I had a chance to meet. Cesar, who invited me, and I had a chance to visit Lima, Peru for the first time, and other friends that I've been meeting during this conference, my Brazilian friends as well. When I thought about this conference, it was, first thing, I have more questions than answers. And the idea for us here is to be provocative, is to instigate, is to stimulate the debate, the reflection, and especially inviting us. We've been doing so many things for internationalization, and sometimes it's important, it's necessary to stop and think a little bit about our practice, our day-by-day things, and especially the results. But the most important thing is, where are we going next? What about the next questions for internationalization? So, Internationalization 4.0, Global Connecting Global Knowledge for Institutional Transformation. And the idea for us is exactly to progress with my slides, first of all. Here we go. To understand the basic comment or the basic knowledge or the basic concept of education 4.0. It's a modern approach to teaching and learning that aligns with the fourth industrial revolution. I'm pretty sure you've been following the fourth industrial revolution. We came from the agricultural, the industrial, technology, where digital technologies, automation, artificial intelligence are transforming society. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling myself being transformed every day. In the last 15 minutes, how many times did you look at your cell phone? We are hyper-connected. It's almost like we don't live without being connected, being plugged anymore. So it's transforming, and especially our workplace. And of course, we have X, Y, W generation, nomads digitais, internet generation. But right now, the Latin alphabet ended, so we move it to the Greek alphabet, right? We are having the alpha generation, beta generation. And consider that we are educators, we deal with education, we must be very attentive. Who's coming? What are their expectations? What kind of internationalization the new students will demand? What about the researchers? What about the staff? Faculty engagement. Professors were completely forgotten in the whole process of internationalization. And right now we are demanding them, you have to internationalize your curriculum. So Education 4.0 invite us to think about this, which was an older scenario. We had exactly Fourth Industrial Revolution, marked by the convergence of, pay attention to this, digital, physical, and biological technologies. Artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, and robotics. Just as the industry has been transformed, education also needs to reinvent itself. If education needs to reinvent from this to this, we are having our students with skill development, creativity, critical thinking, education 4.0. Of course, we have new scenarios, preparing students for a world shaped by advanced technologies. And I love this. It shifts the focus from traditional memorization to skill development, creativity, and all the transformation. But the most beautiful thing, we are based on Industry 4.0 as well. And consider that we are the ones who are forming professors, forming professionals, preparing students, forming global citizens. We have to pay attention. What makes the Education 4.0 schools stand out, universities stand out? They integrate technology, I know about that. They emphasize skills for the future, we know about that. We are getting very familiar with this. Creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, digital literacy, working in groups, cooperate, collaborate, co-production, co-studying, co-learning. They adopt hybrid and project-based learning, moving away from remote memorization. We know about that. But this is something interesting. Prepare students not only for exams, but also for the future job market shaped by Industry 4.0. I don't know about you, but I got impressed of these future job things. We have different possibilities that this kind of education manifests. It can give us some student-centered learning, considered all the possibilities of different methodologies. We have personalized education, considering these blended learning possibilities, technology integration, active methodologies. But the most important for me here is future-ready skills. Again, critical thinking, collaboration, digital literacy, innovation, and are prioritized. You must be asking yourselves, but where is Lou going with this kind of reflection? I'm getting closer to the internationalization, which means if you have a look at the Future of Jobs report just released, 2025, you will see that we have micro-trends driving business transformation. And those micro-trends, they are telling us some about new jobs, new professions, the job market, employers, employees, broadening digital access, rising cost of living, higher prices or inflation. Have a look at this. Slower economic growth, aging and declining working age populations. Some countries, they do not have babies anymore. I've been visiting some universities, they have campus for 15,000 students, and they don't have more than 7,500 students. No babies, no children, no young people. And some other countries, we are having exactly the opposite. But look about the jobs that are coming and the ones that will be missing. Each little square represents jobs being destroyed, the purple color, jobs that are stable, and look at that 1 million jobs that are being created with different skills, different possibilities, different demands. Okay, let's see what is not going to be available. Again, WeForum. I got really impressed, but I kind of knew about that. Big data specialists, artificial intelligence, machine learning specialists, delivery service drivers, fintech. That's okay. I was kind of pretty sure about this. This is a big disaster for me. Why? I wanted to be an executive secretary, and these jobs will disappear. We will not have translators anymore. You just use your cell phone. We don't need anybody to deliver. Postal service clerks, do you remember when you used it to go to the postal service to drop a letter? How wonderful that was? Cashiers and ticket clerks. We don't need to talk to people. We just use technology. So there is a whole change in our lives. There's a whole change in education. And before than being internationalists, we are educators. And that's exactly what we have to think about. What are the jobs for the future? It's not just about technology. It's about transforming the way we teach and learn to prepare students, and look at this, for jobs and challenges that don't even exist yet. What are the jobs for the future? What are the skills? What are the competencies? What are the main challenges? What do we have to think about when we design an international program? What kind of activities? What kind of languages? Are we obliged to speak English if I'm going to an international program in the middle of Amazon, working with binational populations, frontier populations, ribeirinhos, quilombolas? Do we need English to go there, to have an international experience? Of course, the question is the future of internationalization, or what is the internationalization for the future? And you are the guys, you are the ones who are deciding not the future of the internationalization, but what is the internationalization for the future that we want? What kind of programs, what kind of countries, what languages? Should we defend the 4 pillars that I consider important? Plurilingualism, planetary consciousness, global citizen, and interculturality. And how can we promote that? How can we stimulate the future of internationalization? I love this guy, Ottavio Yanni, and he wrote something like, global society, seen in its configurations and movements, it's revealed a new moment in history. We are living a new moment in history for sure. This is the horizon through which the past can be reread, the present can be interpreted, and the future can be imagined. So my invitation for you is, let's imagine the future. What's coming next? What about mobility programs? What about internationalization of research? Do your universities have a policy for the internationalization of research, for the outreach? Do we have a policy to welcome international students? Or are they completely free at the campus and we are celebrating big numbers? Oh, we have 500 international students. So what? How are they living? How are they joining this kind of activities? And exactly, what do we know about internationalization so far? What do we see about internationalization? What results we got from internationalization? What are the lessons learned? And I love to go to congresses, people. I've been to EAIE, and I just shared with my friends, for the last 10 months I traveled in 12 countries to make conferences and to learn a lot, listen a lot. My husband used to be the president of Federal University of Santa Catarina, and I learned from him. You cannot see the universities by your ears. You have to go and see it. Talk to people, talk to your students. Know exactly what do they need. Are they happy? Are they enjoying their experience? And the lessons learned, people, in these congresses, we always have best practices, right? We all go to show the best. What about the dark side of internationalization? I love this expression, dark side. Let's talk about bad practices. Do you have students who are depressed, who want to commit suicide, got pregnant during the exchange programs? And again, my institution, we have 35,000 students. Should we be responsible for those international students just because they are international? Should we pay attention to all the students? Yes, but they are different because they demand some different situations right now. Are we ready for this new scenario? Because we are stimulating, we are completely convinced international experience is the best thing of life. Even if you suffer, you want to go again. Okay, but what are we talking about? Let's look back a little bit. Do you have any idea which university is this? Yes? But I'm pretty sure we all know that higher education began in Europe, Bologna, Siena, Paris, 1088, Salamanca, University of Coimbra, 1219, right? But this is in India, Nalanda University. And I was really impressed that internationalization, it's not from this century. It's not from the thousands. It goes from the 5th century. This institution already exists, and they had already 10,000 students and thousands of teachers from all over the world. And we're talking about the 5th century, Nalanda in India. If you had the chance, go to YouTube and look for a video, 2017. They rebuilt the whole building. They rebuilt the whole university. They had 9 million books, making it one of the oldest libraries in the world. I'm inviting you to do this reflection, and let's progress. Internationalization already existed. So we are not dealing with a new phenomena, but we are dealing with new contexts, new scenarios, new people, new expectations, new everything. And these new scenarios asks us to think a little bit about what are the scenarios of international academic mobility. Just to give an idea, especially to European friends today, it's expected we jumped from 2000, oops, sorry, it's going too fast here. We had this reality expected to come, international mobile students in 2019, significant increase from 2 million students, expectation to go to 8 million students, but again, this only represents 2.6% of the world's population, considering the numbers. Imagine Brazil, people, we have 2,580 higher education institutions, not only universities, right? That makes an amount of 10 million students in higher education. Look at the numbers of Latin America. We in Brazil will never get to close to 1% physical mobility. And we have to think about, is internationalization for all, internacionalização para todos, or are we still reinforcing a model that it's for an elite? 5% of enrollment, only 0.83 of students in the region studying abroad. What can we do as internationalists? What can you do as educators that really promote and stimulate this kind of internationalization experience to everyone? Student, faculty, staff members, administrators, human beings that are dealing with education. If you look at this, the total number, who are traveling? Asians, of course. It's obvious. I'm sorry, Latin America does not appear here. You can download all these graphics. Look at the main destination. We have uneven growth of unequal access in student mobility. We are down here, 1.3%. Central Asia, really taking more of all these possibilities and opportunities of traveling abroad. How can we stimulate our students? I was just at Costa Rica at the CAIE conference, and we presented a panel. And the ladies, Jadira from Canada, Quebec, Trois-Rivières, they were complaining they have more scholarships than students to join the programs. Some students don't want to travel. How can we understand this phenomena? How can we move everybody to understand it's a great opportunity? And we can, of course, move all these numbers to a different possibility. Just this reflection, people, would be wonderful for us, especially for my friends here, Latin Americans, to think about a concept, a model for the internationalization of education. And I'm not proud to share, especially with Renata, my friends from Brazil, Bruno that I just met. CAPES, are you familiar with CAPES? The Brazilian agency that funds research and internationalization. We just released the Plano da Pós-Graduação, Post-Grad Internationalization Plan. Not internationalization is the program, but internationalization is there. And what doesn't make me proud is that we are copying a concept of internationalization from South Africa, from Dr. Samia Shassi. You know her. It's a fantastic concept. But why don't we have a Latin American concept of internationalization that really reflects our needs, our context, our characteristics, our demands? It is great, but just this number, it's a reality of diversity, different levels and modalities. One good thing that Brazilian government did, we wrote about internationalization parameters for basic education. And I'm completely sure about this. How can you develop global citizenship in a gentleman 20, 25 years old? This is a concept that must be developed since you were a kid, that you share this planet, share global citizenship. My freedom ends when your freedom begins. So when you think about this, and look at this slide, it takes me at least 30 minutes to make it. What have we learned about the internationalization? We moved from internationalization abroad, internationalization of curriculum, internationalization at home, internationalization, virtual exchange, COIL programs, I know you're familiar with that, intelligent internationalization, and I myself, I'm guilty about this as well, because I wrote about disrupting internationalization right before the pandemic, hybrid internationalization, understanding that we have to work with these possibilities. Thanks to technology, we had a conference this morning. I'm not talking about virtual internationalization anymore. I'm talking about virtualization, which is much more inclusive, and also the concept of responsible internationalization, which means, what about the impacts of internationalization? How can we work with all these impacts? Social responsibility. What are we doing with the results of IMET? Is this just here in this room? Is just us feeling the results? No, we have student mobility, but still too much individualized. I'm provoking you to think about bigger things. What do we still have to do? What do we still have to learn? What we still have to look at internationalization? Good practice, let's go for the bad practice. Let's go for the dark side of internationalization, and let's look for the future. We made so many things so far, brilliant projects. How can we make it better? How can we improve our practices? So the question was, what's the future of internationalization? And I asked myself, what is the internationalization for the future? What is the internationalization for the future? I love this sentence from Dr. Andrea Schleicher from OCDE. We need to prepare people for jobs that have not been created, to solve problems that we do not yet know, with technologies that do not yet exist. This is horrible. It's scary. But that's exactly what we have to do. Think about the context, think about the situation, think about how can we build the future, how can we progress, and how can we use the internationalization. What do you see in this picture? A little girl, do you think she's happy? Shows some fear, some sadness. You don't see happiness on her. And of course, the challenges appear, people. We are talking about technology. We are about talking about education 4.0. We are talking about internationalization 4.0. Ensuring schools have proper infrastructure and internet access. I would love to know about your countries, but in Brazil, according to IBGE, Brazilian Institute of Statistics, we have 42% of population without computers. We have more than 40% without internet. Some students, they have to leave their home in order to get some access. And sometimes we have one computer for 40 students in a classroom. So we have this beautiful aspect going on with lots of technology, but on the other hand, what can we do using internationalization to resolve bigger problems? Social impact of internationalization. Are we dealing with the top of the intellectuals in the world? They are solving problems every day. They are dealing with internationalization of research. What about the results? What about the impacts? How can we benefit students equally? How can we overcome resistance to change from traditional teaching models? And how can we engage staff? How can we convince a professor who is completely overloaded, full of things? Are you telling me that I have to do internationalization? My agenda is full, I don't have time to. I can't. So it makes us think about some beautiful sceneries. And please do not understand, don't think I'm having any political position here. It's just to provoke our reflection. Do you know this university? Founded 1978. It's the oldest in Gaza. In 2023, had more than 23,000 students. Exactly in the month of October, this is the picture of Gaza. What are we doing as internationalists to help the 20,000 students that don't have where to go anymore? They don't have an university. Students from Ukraine, students from Russia, where are they going? What about internationalization trying to do something in order to help, in order to focus, in order to think about? It hurts my heart, people, when I have an African student, and you know in Brazil we do have strong programs with Africa. A student comes up to me and said, "Professor, I'm here for the last 4 years. I don't have one Brazilian friend. I just have African friends. I haven't been to any Brazilian house. I just have African students as my friends." And this makes me think, let's focus on students' voice. When students share with me, "Lu, I came for education, but I found a second home." Some students have wonderful experiences, brilliant experiences, great results. Another said, "I felt invisible in some classrooms." You know, African students speak Portuguese. Sometimes Brazilian professors say, I don't understand his language. "Professor, but he's speaking Portuguese. It's just a different accent, maybe different words, different vocabulary." How can we convince, how can we tell our professors that internationalization is not a department? It's a mindset changing, and we have to breathe internationalization into campus. We have to understand it's not the responsibility of the internationalization department. It's everybody's responsibility to look at the student, the one who's invisible, and talk to him. And talk about mental health of international students and international professors as well. People who are visiting us, they're not visiting, they are members of our community. These stories reveal both the promise and the pain. They tell us about language barriers, racism, isolation, and also resilience, solidarity, and joy. So, I love Paulo Freire. You know Paulo Freire, one of the biggest educators, very, very mentioned in the world. Those who share what they know change the history of those who learn. How can we share internationalization? How can we multiply the results of internationalization? Another sentence from Paulo Freire: "We cannot deny the right to be more." So if I'm kind of not helping that internationalization is for all, what can I do to include? What can I do to invite? What can I do to be more responsible? Reading documents is an alternative. I don't know if you're familiar with this document from UNESCO, but they say, of course, ensure inclusive, equitable, quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. I recommend you reading this book. But we have this other one talking about equity and inclusion. This is brand new. It was released in November. Is it enough to declare a commitment to inclusion and equity to generate real change in higher education? Is it enough to write institutional internationalization plans? Is it okay just to add some goals? I want to improve 10%, 20%, and run after numbers? We are talking for the last years about inputs and outputs. How many students did you send? How many students you received? How many agreement terms do you have signed? How many professors? How many publications? What about your citations? I'm myself convinced people that you have to be a little bit more humanized talking about internationalization, especially talking about results, learning outcomes. What is the difference that internationalization makes in your life? And look, it's interesting because you have this book from UNESCO telling us that 91% claim that have inclusion policies, but they perpetuate inequalities. 49% of institutions identify a lack of knowledge. We all know about inclusion. We all know about equity, diversity. You know the slang, DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. But are we really doing that in our institutions? Are we really including international students, or they are invisible in the classroom? And the question is, we can work for the democratization of internationalization, political and education process that seeks to transform international mobility, cooperation, experiences to be accessible, equitable, and relevant. This is the meaning of democratization. But I started thinking about what is the difference between democratization? What does it imply? Distribute resources, reduce economic and administrative barriers that we have, recognize epistemological and cultural pluralities, design face-to-face and virtual modalities to allow the participation of those who have historically been excluded, talking about democratization. And what is the difference, people, democratization and internationalization? Let's try to think a little bit about this. Focus on the structural expansion of access, which means more places, more scholarships, more numbers, more projects, more agreement terms. But I need to look for inclusive internationalization, which focus on quality of participation, sensitive to social and cultural differences, meet specific needs of marginalized groups. So when I start thinking about democratization and inclusion, we are talking about different things. We are kind of central objectives, increasing the base, but we have to remove barriers. We have to ensure once they participate in a real position, we are not reproducing inequalities. We do have in Brazil asymmetries, inequalities. Usually, top universities get the biggest amount of money for international projects. And we have 85% higher education institutions in the private sector, which makes it so unbalanced. And here we are talking about quality of education, quality of research, quality of internationalization. And we cannot keep reproducing these inequalities. Of course, they complement each other. Democratization without inclusive measures can increase the number without reducing the inequalities. Inclusion without expanding access will be limited. So we have to work with both. And how can we do that? In one line, expanding access, internationalization for all, ensuring that access translates into equitable participation. And equitable means, I don't want to look for the 3% of the world population. I have to think about how can I bring more people, move from the declarative to the operational. No more documents, just documents. How can we make it bigger? How can we make it stronger? How can we make it more impactful? And how can we add society in our discussion? The question is, how do we do that? It's so easy to talk about theory, bring literature, bring authors, publications about the topic. How can we do that? First thing, people, again, internationalization is not a department, it's a behavior. It's a mindset changing. We have to keep every day telling everyone, you are part of the internationalization. We need you. We need to work together. We need to understand the concept. What is internationalization in our institution? How can we make it work better? Especially considering this concept. Humanizing the internationalization. Approach to global engagement that prioritizes people, relationships, and ethical values. Are you feeling good with your internationalization program? Are you happy? Or poorly institutional or economic goals? Our goals, we know about them. We are demanded by our presidents. We have to show results. But as Jadira was just saying, we receive 200 students, we send 200 students, but we deal with 7,000 students the whole year. And that does not appear on the reports. So how can we look for more humanized thing? Fostering meaningful connections, mutual learning, inclusive opportunities. So we all can work together. We all can work with this humanized internationalization. Does that make sense to you people? Yeah? Have you thought about this? I'm just beginning to develop this concept, so it's really important to know what do you think about. Going back to education, what do we do? Align the school with the digital world. Professions and challenges that are still emerging. Okay, I got that. It's not about using technology. It's more dynamic, personalized, and connected to reality. Okay, let's now add Education 4.0, Internationalization 4.0, and this humanized vision. 3 big pillars for us to conclude. I asked my friends for artificial intelligence, and look what they did. I asked them, please, I need a picture. Help me to put biological technologies, digital technologies, and physical technologies together to answer the demands of internationalization. I kind of like it. It explained me. But we need more. We need to understand what is the meaning of internationalization. How can, through the internationalization, I may connect outreach, extension for us in Brazil, vinculación con la sociedad, creo que dice en español, outreach, research, and teaching, the biggest pillars of higher education. How can you use internationalization to bridge, to connect all these things? I thought about something like this, people. Internationalization ecosystem. We begin with teaching, and we can have some projects in the classroom. So I share knowledge. I'm working with students from the engineering department or the architecture, and I ask them, okay, you have to design, you have to project a bridge, but you are not going to project a bridge in Colombia. You are going to project it in Nigeria. And you have to think the way Nigerians think. What is the best direction of the bridge? Can it be built in the morning? They have to be built in the sun, in sunrise. People, the city of Chapecó, in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, they are #1 exporters of chicken meat. Who's training professionals to work on that company? Because the biggest country or countries that buy the chicken, Arabians. And you know that Arabians, they need to pray before. There is a whole thing must be done with respect to their religion. Are we teaching our students about that? Cross-cultural studies, stereotypes, interpretation, perception, understanding that there is someone in the other part of the world who thinks, acts, and have different values than yours. So teaching in the classroom, we share knowledge, and we also produce knowledge in order to seek solutions for global problems. I don't want to build a bridge for the Florianopolis scenario. I need to build a bridge for the world, considering all the contexts. I need governance, support initiatives and connections. I need the outreach. What about taking these students from the medical school to work in the poor community? What about taking them to visit a favela in Brazil? What about asking a professor to come with me and see the real situation outside of the university and think about extension programs that are really meaningful, giving visibility, develop science diplomacy, promoting mutual understanding, and the most important thing, reinforcing the social responsibility. What are the impacts of internationalization? How are you measuring the impacts? How are you checking if the impacts are not just for one individual person? It has to be like this, a drop in the water. So many people must be affected. If I cannot have money, if I don't have structure to send everybody abroad to have an international experience, I must bring global discussions to the university. I must bring discussions that impact really in 7 different levels. And it's amazing, people, we still have individual impacts. My program, my project, my experience, me. What about multiplying what you have learned with your program, with your institution, local community, the region, national, international, 7 different levels that internationalization must be impact, must promote, must have some better results than just a personal experience. I don't know about you, but when I was coordinating the office, I had students coming back from the international experience. Professor, I want to show you my pictures. Yes, my dear, but first of all, I don't have time. Second, it's not for me. You have to promote this. Intercultural coffee, photo gallery, go to Instagram, but tell exactly what you have learned, share, and we don't have these spaces in our universities. Oh, we have the week, the International Week, it's just a week. We have the Welcome Week, but what about the other 360 days of the year? We need more impact. We have to break the walls of the university and go to the community. The community needs to know what we do. They need to know about the results of our activities. And exactly, if we cannot make it physically, I presented this in a congress in France. I would love to hear your point of view about this. I detected that we have 10 dimensions in order to work with virtualization of internationalization. If we don't take care, for example, of logistic dimension, students don't have internet, or linguistic dimension, they do not speak the same language. Wow, but that's the most important thing, that's why we are doing COIL programs. Okay, but ask someone who speaks Polish to talk to me. It's not going to work. So we have to think about linguistic dimension. I love it. I went to Gliwice, and I loved, wonderful experience. What about the academic dimensions? Do you know how much is a credit on a virtual experience? How do you regulate this? How do you count credits in order to validate the students? Is it regulated? What about the administrative dimension? Who pays for what? Intercultural dimensions, how can we measure if the students in a virtual, in a COIL, are really developing that? Legal dimension, okay, I want to make a COIL in China, and I'm going to use Google. I'm going to use, I'm sorry, Google is not permitted in China. So we have kind of legal problems. What about geopolitical dimension? Am I working with a country that is in war, and the whole project does, and the whole world is in a bad situation right now? Pedagogical dimension, technological, political dimension, people. Is this diploma be recognized? So I designed 10 different dimensions in order to work with virtualization of internationalization. And putting all these things together. Remember, we're talking about Education 4.0, progressing to this interconnected world, going to internationalization, connecting global knowledge for institutional transformation. So we have research collaboration, cross-cultural exchange, open data repositories. Remind me to talk about the responsible internationalization concept in Europe, which is different from ours. We have the Innovation Hub, global partnerships, smart campus, future-ready graduates. They must be able to work for jobs that were not created, with technologies that do not exist, to solve problems that we don't know they will come. We are having new problems to resolve every day, people. And here is the responsible internationalization. When you talk about this, an educational approach integrating digital technologies, sustainability, social impact. Think about inclusion, social impact, sustainability, global e-learning, and this is our new context. How can we progress with our internationalization, being more humanized? How can we think about this internationalization being more responsible? That's the concept written in 2018, 2019. First thing, balance, reciprocity, horizontal relations. I'm not proud to have a partnership with an American institutions where they tell me, Renata, Professor, you can send 100 students to us, but our students have nothing to learn with you, so probably we are going to have a couple of students. What the hell are you doing here? Why are we signing this partnership? I want to have this balanced. I want to have respect, cooperate, and collaborate is different to cooperate. Collaborate means I'm more beautiful than you, that's why I'm here. Cooperate means operate together, mutual respect. Accountability, we must tell the society, we must bring the community to our institutions, leave the institutions to the community, invite them to join the programs. In Caxias do Sul, I'm from the south of Brazil, we had a problem with tomatoes. Stock of tomatoes, tons of tomatoes getting completely bad. We hired professors, we invited professors from Universitario de Studi di Padova and told them, we need your help. What to do with the farmers, the guys who plant tomato. They stayed with us 15 days, Lina. They taught us, the guys who deal with tomatoes, pasta de tomate, massa de tomate, molho de tomate, all kinds of things made with tomato. Resolved our problem. Why do we still keep producing cheese, colonial cheese? Why can't we learn from French people to learn how to make cheese. You know, so accountability, sustainability. Do you remember Science Without Borders program? Yeah? The program ended. Nobody wanted to have cooperation with Brazil anymore because no more money. And so many institutions, we couldn't progress sending students. Either you pay or there's no free lunch. And that was really frustrating. Inclusion, I mentioned it a lot, right? It's not just opening the doors of our institutions. We have to open the doors and work with the belonging. Make the students belong to our campus. Feel that, okay, I'm feeling comfortable, I'm feeling safe, I'm feeling happy here. I had a situation very uncomfortable about 2 weeks ago. A Swiss student was talking to the Brazilian students, the cross-cultural study classroom, and she asked, the students are saying, well, you have to be careful because Brazil is not a very safe country. There are some places you have to be careful. And she asked with her Swiss beautiful eyes, but how do I know if I'm in danger? How do I recognize a danger place? Look at this, Renata. A student said, well, you have to look for mal encarado. Mal encarado is a gentleman with a bad face. I don't know how to say that in English, not even in Spanish. Maybe you can help me. And the other student said, poor lady, but what is a mal encarado, a bad-faced guy? And the student said, I know how to explain, professor. It's the gentleman with a t-shirt, Bermudas, and Havaiana shoes. Well, that means 90% of Brazil. I am a bad guy because I wear sandals all the time, you know? So how can we work with this inclusion and make it belonging? And the last one, people, about compliance. If we say yes to the internationalization, we have to think about all the consequences of joining. If you go down to the playground, you have to be ready, right? And which means, look at the legal aspects, look at the more humanized internationalization. I don't want to listen to people, students coming to me and saying that I don't feel that I belong to this institution. I'm pretty sure you know this gentleman. He didn't wrote this, okay? It's just because reminded me about the first speech. He mentioned something about bridges, about connections. Internationalization is more than an academic strategy. It's an essential path for the advancement of science and technology and human development. When we share knowledge, we create links and build bridges between different cultures. And internationalization, I understand that it's a powerful tool to promote peace, inclusion, and global prosperity. So the idea is, let's think about how can we work with something like the pedagogy of kindness. It's a wonderful theory. How can we think more humanized internationalization? How can we think about the practice? How can we bring more students, but thinking about their well-being, if they are feeling good, if they are feeling comfortable in the classroom, if the professors are joining us, and plus global solutions. I love this slide here. If an egg breaks from an external strength, life ends. Se rompe por una fuerza interior, la vida empieza. If it is breaking from the inside, lives begin. So, the big changes in our life can begin from the inside. My message to you people, again, once again, saying thank you very much for your patience, your attention, is let's think and let's pretend a more humanized internationalization. We are not exporting chicken. We are not exporting packages. Packages don't cry, they don't laugh, they don't suffer. We are dealing with people. And the idea is exactly, let's look for education for peace, much more than technology. Thank you very much. Sorry if it took me too much time.
Don't worry. No. Thank you so much, Dr. Stalivieri, for this enlightening and wonderful presentation. I think it gives us another view of internationalization, and I guess the participants, both inside and virtually, might have some questions for you. So please, comments, questions. We can use this as a conversation panel as well. So if you have a question, please raise your hands. And if you have our virtual participants, if you have a question, you can write it on the question and answer chat, and we will pass them on to Dr. Stalivieri.
Thank you. Thank you, Luciani, for your wonderful conference. Very inspiring and meaningful for all of us. My name is Renata Arcanjo. I'm from Brazil, from Natal, University, UFRN, Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, one of the participants of the IMET project, which I'm very proud of. So thank you all colleagues here for the beautiful work. And Luciani, my question or comment for you, well, it's more that I would like to listen a little bit more from you about this humanizing concept of internationalization. Because when you say that internationalization is more like a mindset, it's not something that we do, but more that a behavior, and we have to have this mindset or changing our mindset to it. How can we build relationships, more humanized relationships within our institutions and with our partners' institutions, when people only want to have numbers? Numbers is the most important thing. How many agreements, how many, and for the agreement, how many collaborations, how many research projects, how many papers that will be published as a result of this collaboration and not cooperation, and how can we talk about human relations within this logic? So I know that it's all about your conference, but I wanted to know more how to do it, because we have to convince our colleagues within the institution and our partners that, okay, results are really important. We are here to, as an exercise of compliance, to show society about the results of our project. But then we have, and I think we have built a wonderful relationship with all the colleagues during this 3 years project. And I mean, even this project ends now, probably, and I hope for it, that our human relations will remain. But how can we expand?
Thank you, Renata. You bring so many important and fundamental elements. I'd say you're not ending the project, you are just beginning. Right? You are just beginning, because so far it was okay, you had a project, you had a structure, you had some funds, that's really important. But what really is going to stay is different partnership than relationship. And you are building relationship. Partnership is exactly strategic alliance. I have, again, so many agreement terms. And what we are looking for is people. Hardware, fantastic. Software, fantastic. People will make total difference. And that's exactly what you are bringing here. You are beginning, you are building in this beautiful project. Second thing, this is a question of $1,000 for sure. How? The how begins with the why. I love the book of Simon Sinek, maybe you're familiar with that, starts with why. If people in our institutions, they don't understand the why are we internationalizing? Why are we signing agreement terms? Why are we sending students abroad? They will never be convinced on the how, and they will never understand the importance of their participation. And you can ask me, okay, but how do you develop the why? And then we have to think about institutions, and I think it's Professor Jost just published, just 2015, published something saying that professors were completely left behind the whole process. and I just mentioned. Now we want you to internationalize the curriculum, including CAPES. That's one aspect they will evaluate. And when you ask Brazilian agency, okay, but how are you going to evaluate if the curriculums of the postgrad programs are internationalized? They don't know. And I don't know who knows about curriculum internationalization, actually. So, Renata, I would say the first thing is make clear what is the purpose. It's not an issue that we want or we desire to. The society is demanding global citizenship. The society is demanding for global solutions. We need to have professionals that really think about the global, the planet, the ODSs, and the whole situation that we are living in. I made a study and I checked what we call in Brazil Diretrizes Curriculares Nacionais, the basic documents that organize the graduation programs of business administration. And I was looking exactly for this information. Are we really forming global professionals to work at companies that export? In my city, buses that are running here in Colombia are from Marco Polo. That's from my town. They have plants in India, in Colombia, in Portugal, in South Africa, in Monterrey, Mexico. Who are the professionals who are going there? And then I got to this sad conclusion, we are not preparing global citizens. So we have to begin with a discussion with curriculum, the purpose of internationalization, which is not just for numbers. But again, now you tell me, okay, but we have the rankings. Yes, we do, and they are complex, they are very questionable, but they exist for good or for bad. We have to follow and we have to respect rankings as well. This is very polemic for sure. But if we don't have numbers, we don't know how to measure, and something that cannot be measured cannot be evaluated, right? So we have both ways to go. We cannot forget numbers, but the idea is, okay, let's start looking for the results. And this comes with webinars, comes with meetings inside our institutions, calling professors to discuss, giving capacity building programs for professors to know how to develop a COIL program. Some of them don't even know how to send an email. And when I talk about research policy, means that why Latin America are so low-cited internationally? Because we publish in Spanish and Portuguese. That's not the language of science. I'm sorry, I'm not defending English, but that's a fact. I just mentioned to Lina and Brito, one of the papers that I have, it's most cited, I published in English at the World University News, which is not a scientific paper, but it's in English, and the international community read me. So I had to help the rowboats to find me. And maybe we need this kind of capacity building for our researchers to show them, to explain, listen, it doesn't matter just to sign the agreement term. You are the guy who will be working with biodiesel, with clean energy. I need you and you need me. And this is the relationship we want to build. So, webinars, conferences, invite people. Every time you have a foreign person, ask them to share their cross-cultural situations, cultural shock, cultural shock reverse. What is the concept of culture? When I was in Poland, they invited me to talk about ethics and artificial intelligence. And my first question was, what is ethic in your country? Well, ethics is just one thing. No, it's not, unfortunately. What is punctuality? Is this room clean or dirty? It depends. It depends on your cultural background. So we have to build this kind of mindset, changing the signs at the campus, writing them in 2 languages, 3 languages. So virtual things can, wow, what's going on in this university? Are we being internationalized? Yes, we have to. We are not selling our education. We are entering the global education because we need to form global citizenships. And this, Renata, can be another conference, you know. We are just beginning to write about this, but I'm finding a whole world of things that it's not that we didn't know. We all know about it. We all know that we have to make our students happy, researchers happy. We need to have documents. And we are progressing little by little. And that's why I showed internationalization is not new. And we are still learning. And then we have COVID. And we spent 30 years discussing distance education. and we didn't get to a conclusion, especially here in Brazil, especially in Brazil. And in 30 days, we had to migrate to distance education. It's almost like President Juscelino Kubitschek said, 50 years in 5, right? We had to rebuild something. So let's learn, let's look for, let's program more international meetings. As I mentioned, the step of going down the stairs can mean something. We are beginning a new phase of IMET, and you guys are the ones who have the responsibility, but the ones who have the knowledge to change, the power to change, going back to our university and saying, okay, let's start promoting as many as possible, little meetings, little conversations. Oh, but that takes time. Tomorrow we are going to talk about some tools for the management of the internationalization. And we will see knowledge management, organizing the documents. If I may ask you, how many of you have your data, number of students, number of agreement terms in Word or Excel documents? Almost all of us. We have to migrate to digital technology. I need my cell phone and I can open it on my cell phone and check how many students went to Gliwice in the year of 2025 to the law department. It has to be International 4.0. And this is another big step. We need to use technology in order to promote, to publicize. We cannot be like ducks. You know, the animal doesn't swim well, doesn't walk well, doesn't fly well. The duck makes everything mais ou menos, so-so. We need to be like chicken. I don't know how to say that in English or in Spanish. We have to cacarear. Cacarear? See? How do you say that in English? What does the chicken make? Anyway, we have to tell people, you know, this is what we are doing. Invite the society, bring the community. We have a French person, we have a Brazilian professor here, and bring more these characteristics, building bridge. And I think that document, that slide, building bridges between the 4 pillars of institution, teaching, research, outreach, and management, I think aligns the internationalization in the middle of it. Thank you, Renata, for your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Stalinieri, for your presentation, your inspiring presentation. I think you touched a lot of topics that deserves to be discussed in detail, but thank you for this big picture, let's say. At some point you said that in Latin America we don't have a model of internationalization. The majority of times we try to use the global north models, and sometimes they don't fix in our reality that are clearly different. And then we can see that multilateralism nowadays is in crisis. We see organizations as Comunidad Andina, Mercosur, Alianza del Pacífico. They are not working. So my question is how education and, of course, internationalization can help to bring this cooperation, this humanized world that not even governments can do it. And of course, all of us here, we truly believe in the benefits of internationalization of higher education, and how and education changes lives. It's the beginning of life. So how can internationalization of higher education can work together with all universities, and of course mainly in South America, to have some answers, and talking about specific internationalization, to have this model that it's needed, because we can't continue working with the global north models that they don't help us, and how to help students, how to help individuals to be better, to have a I don't want to say a better world, because of course this is a utopia, but how can internationalization, how can all of us here work for this model that can help countries work better together?
That's the $2 million question.
I'm
Our
sorry
range
for that.
is going higher. Is going higher. Completely agree with you. And again, we step with the how, right? How can we? But if you think, for example, do we have anyone from the Ministry of Education joining our activities? From the Secretary of Education? No. Why didn't we invite schools to join this meeting as listeners or as participants? Why didn't we open the doors for this meeting and bring in them? We don't love what we don't know. And people have no idea what we do. They don't know about internationalization. So I think, again, it's time to open the doors, build bridges, invite the Ministry of Education. They don't come the first time. They send the third level guy to come. Okay. For the second time, the third time, they will start listening to us. And I think this is one of the big mistakes we did. We go for the government when we need for money. But we have to start inviting them to discuss what is the concept. We got to the conclusion, then I love Professor Hans de Witt and all his team, but we got to the conclusion that the concept of global north does not apply. I met Samia, she's great, Savueleta, they are fantastic, but they are in South Africa. It's a completely different context. And again, people, I'm sorry, sometimes I'm retired, I'm an old lady, so I can be brave enough to say things now, because there's no risk that I can lose my job. I think sometimes we keep with that speech of the poor guys. And we have so brilliant researchers. We have so brilliant projects. We have so many beautiful things to tell the world. We have beautiful solutions. I remember some guys from the Amazon telling me, it was a small university, they just work with health, and they have odontology, psychology, medicine, just the health area. And they tell Professor Starivieri, nobody wants to be partners with us because we have nothing to offer. And I said, my goodness, you have everything. You are in the heart of the world. Everybody wants to do business with Amazon. You just have to think about what do you want to offer. For example, Amazon experience with tropical medicine. And you bring people from all over the world, and you can also make money with that. You know, sometimes it's almost like, okay, let's stop being the poor guys, let's stop being the ones who are not as good as, and stand up and say, yes, we are designing a model. We understand what we need for internationalization. We don't need, again, collaboration. We need cooperate, because I have fantastic professors, I have wonderful COIL initiatives. We can cooperate, we have something to offer. We have coffee to offer. You know, the tinto that I had this morning. I learned tinto in Brazil is vinho tinto, not coffee. And here is a good coffee. So let's look at our products. Let's look at what we have to offer and start to stimulate, including, again, we have researchers with fantastic research. Then they look for a paper, a journal to publish, and they go for Colombian journals. If we have a research policy, and we have some capacity building in order to turn this researcher as an internationalized researcher, we can help them to write an email to an international researcher, help them to understand that language is important and you need to speak, otherwise who are going to be your partners? La comunidad lusófona, which is great, but we need to improve. Wittgenstein talks about the size of your world. If you speak Portuguese, this is the size of your world. Portuguese plus Spanish, Portuguese, Spanish, and English, Portuguese, Spanish, English, and German, and keeps going. So what's the size of my world? Another thing, we have in Brazil currículo Lattes, which is really annoying that we have to write everything that we do. And one professor asked me, Professor Starivieri, are you, am I going to use a word in Portuguese, turbinando? Turbinating means, you know, when you get a car turbo, you know? And I said, I have no idea how to do that. We have 6 important keywords at this curriculum that really presents myself. And I was kind of putting language, English, culture, internationalization, mobility, cooperation, partnerships. As soon as I started working with the same words that define me, what am I doing? I'm not manipulating data. I'm helping the robots to find me. And this is a very little thing that can change. I'm working with Universidad Tecnológica Particular de Loja in Ecuador. And we are just working with their researchers, telling them how to internationalize their careers. Question for you. Do you have an international project right now? If I call you and say, guys, I have here 31 million euros, but I need a project. Do you have a ready project? No. You are researchers. A researcher must have a ready project just to adapt to IMAT, to Erasmus Horizon, whatever. Is it written in English? No. My curriculum, 99 pages. Who needs to read 99 pages? Do you have your CV in 3 pages because I need it for tomorrow? In 3 languages because I can invite you to come to Brazil? No. So very little steps can change the whole process. Begins with why. Why do we need to internationalize? What are the little steps that I can convince, sensibilizar, help the community to understand the whys, the hows, and what they have to do, to go to the whats, the golden circle from the Simon Sinek. Okay? And of course, must be planning. Plan, do, act, check, and act. What cannot be measurable cannot be evaluated. In order to progress, if I go back to my institution and say, well, it really, internationalization is based on me, it's on my back, I have to carry it. Nobody really knows what I'm talking about. They just know, oh, that lady travels all over the world, that's what she does. She loves traveling. And here we are kind of a travel agency. As we all know, they kind of make confusions with our activities. No, we are crucial, we are central. I've heard the president of Mexican Universidad Autónoma de México, una universidad que no está internacionalizada no se puede llamar de universidad. That's very strong, very, very strong. So it doesn't mean to be a big one. I can be a boutique like Época, que es la Escuela Posgrado Ciudad Argentina. Very small, but extremely internationalized. They just work with post-graduation programs in law, PhDs and masters. Totally internationalized. It's a boutique, and they don't want to be bigger, but they are internationalized. They are doing their job, forming global citizens. I don't know if I answered. I have more questions than answers, but that's why we are here to discuss. Please.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I would love the management of my university, which I come from, it's Vilnius Tech Lithuania, to listen to it, also to get the message. And I think we've talked with the colleague that we should think of the occasion for you to be invited to Vilnius. I don't know whether you have ever been there, but I have 2 questions. The first is, what signs of optimism do you see in us as societies, as universities, in progression towards...
That comes the $3 million question.
Even
wow.
The stakes gets higher. Having in mind that we are really getting more globalized, more connected, more technologically advanced, and yet less human, with all these wars, both real wars and trade wars and all that is going on in all over the world. And the second question is more of a personal kind. And what you do, what you see as most challenging thing in the work you do, and how do you deal with it?
Fantastic. Let's go to the optimism. We have to be optimistic, otherwise we die, otherwise we don't go to work. And this is the bright in your eyes that has to be stimulated every day. There is a saying from Ortega y Gasset, very, very old book. It's the history of universities, if I'm not mistaken. And they say that moving in an university is like moving a graveyard. We never get the help from the inside. Es como mover un cementerio. Nunca se queda ayuda from the dentro. Higher education institutions, we are like dinosaurs. We are Jurassic. To move one thing while the industry, technology, innovation, big techs, they are just blowing. We are still deciding who's going to relate the meeting to, this is very tiring. But we have to be optimistic. We must keep this, especially keeping in mind that we have a young generation of people coming. And this is our job. We are the ones who can at least are a little bit closer to the presidents of our universities, because they love to say in their speech, my university is internationalized. Last semester we sent, how many students? We sent 500 students. They are really proud of it. And it makes a difference in their speeches. But we must have the 30-second elevator pitch. We meet the president and say, Mr. President, we need an international meeting immediately. We need to bring Dr. Salivieri to our university now. You know, the 30-second pitch with numbers. And with numbers, you can tell them, okay, we need more people to work. We need more people to come at the internationalization department. We need to talk about an internationalization policy for the research. We need to talk about internationalization of curriculum, which nobody's really going deep on that. Some professors are having some initiatives, which is good. And I think also that we must count on friends of internationalization. That may sound a little bit too much informal, kind of a silly answer, but it's not. We have to engage the ones who really understand the reason, the meaning, the purpose, because the purpose will get the engagement. If you know why, you will be committed to that. So we have so many professors. Cesar and Nelson invited me to check for some projects. I was really impressed with the experiences some professors have. And this is something we also have to change. When did you start with your internationalization? I started by the beginning of 2000, which means I worked 30 years in a private institution. I'm professor for 2 post-graduation programs now for the last 12 years in a public institution. Wine and water, completely different kind of management. But I still have some memories of professors from the 90s who already had programs with Italy, with Italian universities. And they were so proud to say, it's my project. It's not the university, it's my project. It's my foreign guest. It's my money. Sorry, professor, it's not your money. You have to share this with the institution. We have to institutionalize the internationalization. Otherwise, you're going to have enemies. We are sleeping with the enemy. And how can we change that? Again, I'm full of little sayings, popular sayings. Enemies we treat with honey, not with vinegar. So, yes, professor, it's your project, fantastic. Let's talk about it. Let's make a publication about it. Let's put on the journal of the university. Let's bring your... So we have to kind of every day wake up, good morning, what am I doing here? Working for the internationalization, having this purpose, looking in an optimistic way. It's not easy, people. It's not easy. And as I mentioned, I would love to discuss bad practices. Because on those bad practices, the dark side of internationalization, we can find fantastic pearls. How did you convince people at the health department? How did you convince the human area, philosophers, educators? They are more flexible to understand that. But as soon as you start with ladies, I'm very sorry if someone is from the pedagogy area. I did my graduation in pedagogy. They are horrible. Students from the language department, they are the ones who don't travel. It's amazing, you know? The ones who go business administration guys, they like international students. And so we have to understand, including the profile and the context, because you have so many different asymmetries, different perspectives, and again, listen and see the university. Okay, I don't know if I answered. Oh, and you mentioned about my challenges. I moved, and my husband used to say that I carried the piano. Now I'm carrying the papers, the partitures, to the piano to play the music. It's an orchestra that must be conducted every day. So right now I have the pleasure to be sitting on my desk, doing research, thinking. I'm paid to think and teach and invite my students to help me to think about problems, and especially on the management, because the programs are on the management. So I'm interested in exactly how to resolve the problems the day by day. I told Lina and Brito, I have this subject on the post-graduation program, Internationalization of Higher Education. It's taught in English. It's completely virtual, so anyone from all over the world can join, and we will be discussing these topics. And suddenly I listened, Jadira, people at my LinkedIn, Professor, I'd love to be your student. Professor, how can I do it? Just enroll it. And you know why I lost 18 students? Because the Brazilian system asked a CPF, which is formed by 12 numbers, I guess, 15 numbers, 11 numbers, and the system didn't accept passports. When I discovered that, it was in the 4th week of the program, so I couldn't accept new students. It would break the whole atmosphere of the classroom, which was fantastic. So look at this. We are sleeping with the enemies. And we have to tell them, listen, I need you, guy from TI, from the technology.
How can you resolve my problem? I need you to help me, and I help you to keep your salary, because we need people working in this university. Such a little thing I lost. I couldn't enroll 18 international students on the topic. Made me so frustrated, but I learned. So bad practice, sharing that with you, pay attention to that. A little thing can make total difference. Okay, thank you. It's time for coffee, no?
Yes.
I'm sorry I talked too much. Very, very sorry about that. One more question.
Hi everyone. Thanks for presentation. Thank you for the presentation and appreciate the different perspectives we face today, especially regarding equality, wide encompassing internationalization, I don't know how to say it,
It's a difficult word, I know.
in democracy. My question focuses on what are the obstacles preventing internationalization in our current situation, and especially factors in ethical and critical thinking. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. I would recommend us to keep reading and following the critical studies of internationalization. And they've been focusing some of that and trying to understand, as I proposed to you, this is a critical thinking of what's good, what's wrong, how can we make it better? And when you ask exactly, how can we progress thinking about all this internationalization being more humanized? What are the most important obstacles? Without organizing my thought, I would say we have at least 5 different areas to think. Number 1, we have to start working with administrative obstacles. What I'm talking about here is enrollment, documents, documentation that students bring, the administrative aspect when the student, the professor, the money comes. Sometimes universities want to pay me, but because of the international transfer bank, I'd say no, because we lose money on the way. So administrative things we have to think about. Logistic. Some students just decide to go, okay, I want to go to United States to make an exchange program at Chicago University. They have no idea that the temperature goes to 30 degrees below zero. And when they get there, they suffer, they get depressed because it's all white and beautiful and those little animals jumping, and they don't have connected to anybody because everybody's inside. So the logistic means, where are you going? What are your expectations? Do you want to go to technology? Would you like to go to a more historical kind of university? So think about obstacles that you can, and tomorrow we are going to talk about mobility 360, before, during, and after the program, right? And here I'm focusing on mobility because the IMET structure. So administrative, logistic. Let's go to the academic. If you saw that movie, Albergue Espanhol, very, very, very old. I recommend you to have a look. The professor is teaching his class, and he's speaking Catalan. And a student from Erasmus raised her hand, is professor, we have more than 15 students coming from Erasmus. We do not speak Catalan, we just speak Spanish. Would you mind, please, speaking Spanish? Then all of us can understand you. You have no idea what the professor answers. In a very rude way. Listen, if you wanted to speak Spanish, you should have gone to Latin America, not here. Here you're going to speak Catalan because I speak blah, 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 for 10 minutes yelling at the girl. So what about the academic? Is it okay if I go to Brazil and I invite a student for a beer after class? Yes, it's okay. I go for a beer with my students. I can hug a student of mine, and that's okay. I wouldn't never do that in a university in the United States where I lived for 1 year. The first thing they told me, don't kiss, don't hug, don't close the door, don't be alone with the students in the class. It's better if I don't go because I'm too touchy, I'm too Brazilian, So respect and understand. So administrative, academic, logistic. Let's go for the linguistic aspect. Some students understand that they did a course in English in Brazil and they decide to go to Oxford University. In the first week, they understand their English is not as good as they thought it would be. So the linguistic aspect is very important. It depends the purpose, the objective of what you are doing. If you're going to a PhD, your language must be crucial for communication. If you're going to an exchange for a higher education program, you can have a lower level of English.
Okay? So it depends, but it must be very well observed, taken care, and it doesn't apply to any kind of certificate. We have to be very, very attentive with quality, looking at the linguistic aspect. And the last one, which I don't consider the less important, I would say this is the most important, intercultural obstacles. A student may go to another country and be very upset, and you all know about that, because the family yells at them all the time. But they are not yelling at the student. It's because the way the family talks. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands all the time. And some students don't adjust because I had a problem when I went to live in London. I'm Brazilian. I used to take 2 showers a day. And the family went to the director of the school to ask if I had any problems with my skin because I take 2 showers a day. And they were very concerned. Janet, Ronald, and Benjamin. Benjamin was the dog, and the dog takes shower with the same place, you know. So for me, a young lady, 20 years old, from Caxias do Sul, interior of Brazil, my first time in an airplane, I didn't know I was traveling to an island. I carried my shoes. I didn't know I could send my shoes to the baggage claim. Imagine the impact on me. I felt like I had an X on my front head. Everybody knew, oh, that's the Brazilian girl with a disease on her skin. I had to move from a different school because I started feeling I was getting really depressed. But nobody told me I could not take 2 showers a day. Just a very little thing that impacted my life. That's why I think I'm so engaged on helping students and thinking about, if you want to go, it's because you want to go, not because your father couldn't. I had a student going to a pre-departure orientation with tears in his eyes. And I said, are you okay? Are you happy? Do you want to talk about this? Professor, I don't want to go. I'm just here because my father wanted to have an experience and he couldn't. So he's really wanting me to go. You know? So it's very complex, and we have to be more professionals to talk about mental disease of international students, talk about intercultural shock. Some professors, Russian professors who went to Caxias do Sul, we wanted to hire 2, we hired 9. They left the snow, went to Caxias. I had to rent 8 apartments. I had 22 people from Russia coming to Brazil. The first 6 months, they didn't produce anything. By the time the president was about to send them back. Why? Because nobody told them what they had to do. And in Brazil, it's more like easygoing. Don't understand this is a bad thing. You know, it's almost like the relationship has different steps. Some people, Chinese students, when I talk to them in the classroom, the ladies from Germany, immediately they start doing things. The American ladies start doing things. The Chinese, they keep kindly things. Do you understand what you have to do? So, go. It's almost like I had to prepare myself to develop my cultural intelligence to communicate with the students. If we are internationalists and we face difficulties, and thank you for asking for the obstacles, imagine a professor who never had the chance to travel, who doesn't speak any language, who doesn't publish internationally, who doesn't internationalize his career, and now we are saying you have to internationalize the curriculum. So one step back, let's start, you know, capacity building, seminars, webinars, inviting people, sharing good practice and bad practice in order to form a critical, intellectual group of people who can really think about internationalization. Okay? Enough of stories. Let's go to the coffee.
We have one question. We have one question from the virtual audience that I think it's important to answer.
Good.
Yeah, actually, we have 2 questions. The first one is from our colleague Juan Camilo Gámez from Unitropico here in Colombia. And his question is, the way governments such as Colombia's evaluate the impact and value of science still favor traditional publications and research with Anglocentric and Eurocentric content and linguistic prestige. How can we make sure that the reflections we are developing here, especially from internationalization, reach these close circles of knowledge production and continue limiting the social and democratic impact and of Latin American researchers?
Excellent question. And another conference, right, Camilo, just to talk about this topic. We have to break this. We have to break this. And my question is, why don't international researchers, why they don't look for our journals to publish? We don't have too many people from other countries interested in publishing in Brazilian journals. So we have to break this, we have to do our job, we have to maybe publicize better, we have to invite, make special issues, special dossiers to discuss internationalization, invite international researchers to publish with us, using language, of course, but I still, and I think Renata goes with me, I want to promote Portuguese language everywhere I have the opportunity to, because it's a language spoken by 300 million people. And of course, it's not economically so prestigious as English right now. Let's travel a little bit with me, especially with my friends from Portugal. Which are the countries where do you speak Portuguese right now? Brazil and Portugal, Angola, Mozambique, Macau in the south of China, Guiné-Bissau, Timor-Leste, São Tomé e Príncipe, Cabo Verde. So in a group of 12 countries at the most. But sometimes we are the 5th or the 3rd most spoken language. So what are we doing to really promote Portuguese language, promote the Lusophone space? And we have to break this, Camilo, and the gentleman who's asking. So I think talking about internationalizing careers, invite the professors to discuss about this, to discuss about this global north, global south, and the global north has the prestige. If you look at what's going on in the United States, I remember the son of my husband was a professor and researcher at Yale University. And the first time that President Trump mentioned something about inviting foreigners to leave the country, João Francisco told me, Lou, if they do that, Yale can break, because I'd say that 80 to 85% of the researchers are foreigners. They are not Americans. So the science doesn't have a country, but the man of the science does. La ciencia no tiene patria, pero el hombre de la ciencia sí. So we must kind of break this, reinforce, and try to open this space. If you have to talk to an editor of a journal, or if you have the chance to publish something, try to publish in your own language plus English. Unfortunately, as we had French, German, Esperanto as the language of the science, right now is English. And of course it's related to geopolitical, it's related to economical power, and so on. But there's room, and we have to work with that. There's another question?
There's another question from Alejandro Maraño. He says, thank you, Dr. Salivieri, for such a wonderful presentation. How can universities motivate and reskill faculty in education 4.0 pedagogies to enhance their capacity to design and sustain internationalized learning experiences?
The question was, how can we engage the faculty?
How can we motivate?
Motivate.
Yes.
Okay. Again, 4 million. We are getting to the $5 million question. So motivation, people, again. I would say the best way is we have to tell these people who don't know about internationalization exactly what are we talking about. So invite professors to discuss, show them good models, show the results, invite the students to tell their stories. Sometimes we have academic weeks, right? Every institution, every program we have, Semana Acadêmica do curso de Direito, Semana Acadêmica da carreira de Engenharia. We have to use all these little spaces. Give us 15 minutes. 1 or 2 students can make a speech telling about how important was the experience. It's amazing the way that a little drop in the water starts promoting the internationalization. People really enjoy that. People really like to know the stories. It's a life-changing. And for sure, we will have more students than places to go. And that's the idea. The more we can promote, the more we can invite. But it's almost like we have that saying, you can take the little cow to the pond, but you cannot force her to drink the water, right? But we have to show the possibilities, work, and again, we are not very good at systematizing, organizing, and sharing knowledge. We have to share knowledge, we have to invite more people to come to this kind of congress, we have to bring the society, we have to sensibilize, I don't know if that's the word, but we have to motivate, stimulate. And the house, we have a list of things, but they must be kind of cycle, must be reviewed, must be checked. You do the first one, you have one invited guest. Do it again, invite it again, start discussions, promoting things, put this topic on the agenda. It cannot be a luxury. It cannot be an appendix. It's in the heart of universities' internationalization. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Stalivieri, for this thoughtful, provoking, and inspiring discussion. Now, we invite you for a coffee break down the aisle next to the registration. You can have some refreshments. And for the virtual attendees, I advise you to keep connected, and we'll see each other again at 11:25.
Muito obrigada.